What if the absolute most dangerous submission hunter on the planet wasn't a roided up heavyweight monster, but a soft spoken guy who eats pizza and pasta almost every night? Most people look at Mikey Musumeci and don't see reality. Behind that polite smile is a very strong heart and mind. He made a name for himself and he recovered from near death all the way back to the big stage. You're watching BJJ Lore with Oscar, where we get to learn from the stories of our favorite grapplers to be inspired and motivated for your jiu-jitsu journey. To understand the technical genius of Mikey Musumeci, you have to look past the gold medals and look back to the beginning. Born on July 7th, 1996, in Marlborough, New Jersey, Mikey didn't find jiu-jitsu because he wanted to be a tough guy. He was a small, introverted kid who started training at just 4 years old alongside his sister Tammy. His family moved to Florida, and he began training under Gilbert Burns and Jonatas Gergel. This is where the foundation was poured. Mikey began developing skills that separated him from everyone else. He focused on jiu-jitsu with total, unadulterated fixation. And by the time he hit the juvenile division, the grappling community realized they weren't dealing with the normal kid. Mikey accomplished something nearly unprecedented in the history of the sport. He tore through the ranks, winning consecutive IBJJF World Championships at Juvenile Blue, Purple, and ultimately Black Belt, skipping a Brown Belt World title entirely because his progression was just too fast. When he earned his Black Belt under Jonatas Gergel at the young age of 18, his style became the gold standard for the modern era. One of Mikey's signature techniques was the berimbolo, but it wasn't just about mimicking moves. He became the 5th American male ever to win an IBJJF Black Belt World Championship, and the first American ever to secure 4 consecutive Black Belt titles in the gi. But then, he walked away from the traditional gi competition. He stepped into submission grappling with 1 championship and moved his entire life to Singapore to train out of Evolve MMA. It was here that he transformed into a leg lock destroyer. He developed what the world now calls the Mikey Lock, a modified version of the heel hook that applies tremendous braking pressure to the ligaments in the knee and the ankle. So how does a human being reach such a level? In his own words, Mikey revealed a daily routine that sounds less like an athletic training and more like psychological torture. He wakes up at 9 a.m., he rolls on the mats for an hour, followed immediately by an hour of intense drilling. Then, while normal athletes take a nap, Mikey sits down with a notepad for an hour to study videotape, actively writing down adjustments for structural flaws that he saw during drilling. After that, he does an hour of climbing, an hour of cardio conditioning, and a second nightly session of live rolling, and finally another hour of drilling. I don't know if Mikey still follows this schedule, since I know he just recently started a YouTube podcast, but this was an ordinary day for him. And here is something I wasn't expecting. To close his day, Mikey would spend 4 hours sitting in bed analyzing footage of his opponents. That is a 12-hour day completely consumed by jiu-jitsu. When asked in an interview if he ever gets tired of it after more than 22 years on the mats, Mikey gave a response that defines his career. He said, "Honestly, no. The reason why I love jiu-jitsu is that I'm constantly solving puzzles. I go to training tomorrow and I still find a new variation on a move I've done for 10 years. My obsession separates me." But obsession has a dark side, and in September of 2024, that dark side almost put Mikey Musumeci in a grave. He was originally scheduled to fight superstar Kade Ruotolo in a highly anticipated super fight at 170 pounds. But on short notice, Ruotolo pulled out due to injury. Wanting to stay on the card, Mikey pivoted back to defend his flyweight belt. The sudden pressure to clear 1 championship's strict hydration and weight protocols proved devastating. While trying to pass the hydration protocol, he was also trying to manage his weight. Mikey began performing intense, deep diaphragm breathing exercises, a method popularized by legends like Hickson Gracie. The physical internal pressure became immense. The night before the fight, Mikey was spitting up fluid, feeling what he described as crispy bubbles in his throat. He thought he was just incredibly dehydrated. It was far worse. He had sustained a life-threatening condition called pneumomediastinum. The sheer pressure of his breathing exercises and the extreme stress had literally torn his lung, causing air to leak directly into his chest cavity and throat. When he pulled out and was rushed to the hospital, the doctors gave him a chilling reality check. If he had stepped onto the mats to compete, his lung would have completely collapsed within 60 seconds, and he likely would have died inside the cage. Because he failed the hydration weigh-ins and was forced to withdraw due to the medical emergency, he was stripped of his title, hospitalized, and left to process how his relentless drive had almost killed him. But true champions don't let trauma break them. Mikey spent his recovery period battling stomach ulcers brought on by immense stress. He recalibrated his mind and prepared for his highly anticipated return to the elite grappling stage. He proved to the world that he could bounce back from a terrible situation. So, what can regular practitioners like you and me learn from a guy who operates at this level of intensity? Interestingly, Mikey's advice for common grapplers is the exact opposite of how he lives his own life. In his public interviews, Mikey explicitly tells beginners to take it slow. He warns that if you become completely obsessed and try to train like a professional right out of the gate, you will break your own body down and burn out. His philosophy for longevity is simple. Train at a steady, long-distance pace to make your joints and muscles injury-proof. Save the extreme intensity for when your body has spent years adapting to the mats. Mikey Musumeci is a walking paradox. Such an unsuspecting pizza-loving guy who is simultaneously one of the most ruthless grapplers in the world. A man who sacrificed his body for competition, to the point where he nearly died. And a person with a will so strong, he recovered and returned to the apex of the grappling world. If you're still watching this video, then please let me know if this new format is working for you. I really do want to provide the best content I can for you guys, and I appreciate your suggestions to improve these videos. If there is someone you want me to make a video of, don't hesitate to drop it in the comments as well. And in the meantime, the screen will show you my most recent upload if you're ready to watch more, and I'll see you on the next one.